Welcome to the Omnibus Roundtable Television Show. I'm Wanda Carter, your host this evening, and I'd like to talk with you about a variety of subjects. And my guest tonight is someone very special to me and very special to the public in general because he's a media guru, Mr. Lionel Nixon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Wanda. You're so kind.
I think that we're very blessed to have you come and talk about the Nixon Report, restoring that publication that we're probably going to do some television and some radio. So you'll be able to share your thoughts with a variety of people because, Lionel, you're into everything. Everything.
I've been around.
I've
been around the block a few times.
Oh, like most of us. Like most of us. We all been around the block. But it's just, your perspective has always been one very unique because you worked for the government.
Yes.
And so you have some insight that others don't have. And you're always willing to share that. And so I look forward to the Nixon Report because I used to want to see who you gonna blow out the water this week. He's good at bringing people to the light. You want to know who somebody is? Let investigative reporter Lionel Nixon get on to it, and you're gonna find out who the person is.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I became a little controversial the other day. I was viewing on Facebook Live the Mays Jackson show, and I challenged Barack Obama to debate on the issue of community benefits agreements, particularly in the area of economics and environmental impact.
So did you get a response from?
Well, I just really told the people, if you see Barack Obama, tell him I'd like to debate him on that issue, because I really do believe that there should be some form of community benefits agreement, and particularly in the aspects of economic and environmental impact. What is the issue for me is not the Barack Obama Center, but the golf course.
Ah.
See, the golf course
why is that
consumes most of the 20 acres.
Oh, okay.
And there are rules set by the Professional Golf Association that require a specific amount of space per hole. So they want to take the nature centers away. They want to develop something called vertical gardening,
where
they build these buildings and they put the nature centers within buildings and you walk up to the nature centers. But that still is not the same as on the lake, you know, in that little nook right on the lake with the Japanese backgrounds. We got all kinds of nature centers where we could just sit quietly, watch the birds, you know, just really chill. So they want to wipe out all of this, and there's the issue of historic preservation. When something has historic preservation, then there are rules. Anything that you take out, you have to replace. So they want to tell you that they can take the flat nature centers and put them in buildings and put them on rooftops.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm saying that they're not taking into consideration the environmental impact on animals, let alone human beings.
Right.
Now you can walk into the park from 67th and Stony Island. You can walk all the way through that park to the beach.
Yes, you can.
But if they put a golf course up there, it's going to all be fenced in, because if you go through there, you might get knocked upside the head with a golf ball. And they want to close 66 Market access. They want to eliminate the Cornell Drive access.
That would be nice.
So it's going to have a lot of impacts, you know, even in the sense of public access.
Well, have you tried talking to the community and seeing what kind of feedback you get when they're confronted with what might happen?
Well, I've been to a couple of demonstrations and meetings with a coalition for a agreement, a community benefits agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had some, there's a group, highly millennial based,
Mm-hmm.
but there are a lot of baby boomers involved in concerned citizens that don't want the parks just taken away.
So we need to start bringing some of them on the show and talking to them about.
I'm going to be interviewing some of those people who are involved in the leadership and organizing of that effort. There are a lot of different issues. I started an organization called the Consortium for Public, Affordable, Disabled, and Senior Housing.
Wow.
And it's a think tank of housing brainstormers seeking not only to identify the problems but to create workable solutions in the development and new construction of housing, and in trying to restore, develop through affordable community land trusts, the development of affordable housing, because the average one bedroom in this town is $1,200.
Yeah.
And lots of time people can stack together, get together, and all live in one bedroom. Somebody sleeping in the dining room, but most people can't afford $2,000 a month for a 2-bedroom. And that has an impact on family housing. See, they build a lot of senior housing, which accommodates a lot of the baby boomers. You have 86 million millennials
Really?
in this country. They are slowly going to become the largest group of people as the baby boomers, people within our generation, as we begin to age and make our transition. But that is the key. The housing situation is so important. I press people because that's the issue that most of the politicians in these elections, they don't talk about.
Well, because they would have to, we would be able to hold them accountable, and they're not going to put themselves in that position because they never probably intended to do anything anyway.
If you live here, you can vote, and if you don't live here, you can't vote. We've seen the population of African Americans, some refer to us as black, some Negro, some Asian, trying to get all of them in because there's different theories about what we call ourselves, but we're 29.7% of the population of Chicago as of the United States Department of Census 2016 projection. We're just a little bit lower than on the scale than the Hispanics, so about at 30.
They're 30%.
So that's 60% of the population right there. All right, so you know if that's 60, then you got all these other groups, what's described as other,
yes,
Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Palestinian, and Korean.
Yeah.
And then you have the people of European descent. So roughly it's 30, 30, 30, and all other. So that's all other probably takes up 7%. So now, between 7 and 9. Now, what's happening is, at one time at our apex, there were probably 1,700,000 black people. But Chicago almost had 4 million people.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone down. Well, you want to say around the time of Harold Washington.
Okay.
The 80s.
Okay.
When the late 70s and 80s, we really were on something. In this time when Harold Washington was elected, what a day that was.
That stands out so much in everybody's
I'll
mind.
never forget it. They picked me up in a limousine And that was, boy, that was one of the best times of my life. I know that on election day I worked with Mayor Marion Barry, and I worked with Peb Ali on election day.
Yes.
I worked with the Staple Singers.
Oh,
I worked in advance,
okay.
and I did research. And I tell people all the time, you know, there's a lot of good people with a lot of good intentions now, but I've been around. I've been in more than 50 elections in this town over the years. And what Harold Washington had was something that he created all these various task forces. I was one of the co-chairmen of his first congressional district housing task force for housing and economic development. We developed a document called In the Interest of Fairness and Parity. In the Interest of Fairness and Parity. An affirmative action blueprint for the city of Chicago. And that was really largely a large part of his housing and economic development plan, which he transitioned into using in his mayoral campaign. And that particular philosophy that he had of having what he would do, as opposed to just saying, well, we're going to vote for some new people because all the other people are bad people. Without understanding the systemic nature of politics in the city council. He who has 26 votes rules. Okay. Until you get 26 votes, all those aldermen at the mercy of the mayor. If he controls the 26, but it's 18 of them. I think 3 or 4 of them already have endorsed Rahm Emanuel. Now, see, they're all motivated, they all love the city, but they all are concentrated on delivering resources to their wards. Their first priority, that is who elected them. So it's just not so easy to say that you're going to replace certain aldermen or even replace Rahm Emanuel unless you have a blueprint where, like Harold Washington went to every single ward in this city. And he was able to tell people, this is what I will do if you vote for me. And that's what we have to have in what's the 10 by 10 plan.
Yeah.
That has to be developed equally. It's not one is more important than the other. Certainly if you don't have people, you don't have the voters.
Right.
So galvanizing the voters and bringing them together, but how you get them, and what we learned when we elected Harold is you tell people what they're voting for.
That makes sense. See, Lionel, I just believe we should probably try to use any access we have to the public to help people understand what all of the elected officers are.
Yes.
And you know what they're supposed to do. And then maybe when they get all this literature and stuff about the candidates,
yes,
they'll be able to make a wiser decision about who to vote for.
Absolutely.
Because most of the people we elect, it seems like once they get in office, they forget that the people are the reason they're there.
Well, you know, look, everybody wants to have somebody to be the one that's going to be independent and going to be the winner. Now, you'll notice in the last budget that Rahm Emanuel passed, every single black alderman voted for it. That means every single black alderman got something in return for voting for it. If they had not supported it, then the person that didn't support it wouldn't get as much resources. By law, there's so much that they have to get, but you can either get a whole bunch or you can get just the minimum.
That.
So
wow.
They can't seem to galvanize and develop the coalition of 26 votes, because they're even split among themselves. But it's really not just their fault. I mean, it seems like, oh, these are bad people. There are many of these aldermen I've known for decades. And quite matter of fact, I like them.
Okay.
But I think some of their politics stinks.
Okay.
And so to be able to disagree politically on some things and agree on others and still not take it personal.
Right.
That's what I do. That's what I'm good at analyzing, but I'm good at solutions. So these aldermen, they're a lot, even congressmen. I mean, there are congressmen that are so attached to Rahm Emanuel, and when you talk to them, they tell you, well, we can't get anything done. Anytime you do something in the city of Chicago that has to do with housing or development, you got to take it through the Department of Planning, the City Department of Planning, the Building Commission, zoning, and the City Council. And your stuff can wind up sitting in a committee and never even, it could get buried. They take the inbox, lift the inbox up, put your stuff under the inbox,
wow.
and you're done. So in order for them to get something, they find themselves having to acquiesce to Rahm. Now Rahm is just, he's a nice guy. I've talked to him too. He's personable.
Okay.
But his politics stinks for us in many ways. On the surface, he wants the growth and economic development of the city to create jobs and opportunities. But on the surface, he's incrementally doing little things to destroy our black neighborhoods, like destroy our schools. Daily, he destroyed 100 schools.
Yeah.
And Rahm came right behind it. But you see, it's interconnected. Rahm was on the CHA board. Rahm was a congressman. Rahm was chief of staff for Clinton. Rahm was chief of staff
So he's
for
been out
Barack Obama.
and around.
And I've been in opposition with him ever since I worked at HUD. I sacrificed my career fighting them on the demolition of public housing because they came out with Section 8 vouchers, and when they gave those people vouchers instead of a real concentration on replacement of that housing, one-on-one replacement, they already knew that there wasn't enough places in Chicago for them to live. They knew that they'd have to use those vouchers downstate, upstate, or out of state. So a lot of people, they just create this image that it's violence. There's a lot of black people in this town that got help. They got everything but put on the bus. Out of here. So now we're down to somewhere around 800,000 black people in Chicago. But the populations of the rest of the people are increasing because they've created 2 new cities, the South and West Loop. And they're going to just have that, those are going to be big, thick wards. You know, they took the second ward, they put it on the north side. So there's all kinds of things that are happening. 2020, they're going to redistrict. Redistricting is based on population. So in the Nixon report, we're going to really take a delve into some of these subjects like redistricting, housing. We've been doing quite a bit of research with the Consortium for Public, Affordable, Disabled, and Senior Housing. And we had a meeting recently at the Avalon Park Library, and we started a series of meetings that we're having. We have about 3,000 people across the state and in Missouri that are involved in really wanting to know what can we do about this housing program, this land question. Then you got this education problem. You know, in Inglewood they want to take 4 schools. See, high schools are economic engines.
Right.
People have jobs there. All those people are going to lose their jobs.
What 4 schools they want to take in Inglewood?
Yeah, they want to, all the existing high schools, they want to take and just demolish them and then create one super school on 63rd and Halston, right across from Kennedy King.
Goodness.
And all these young people are going to have to cross various lines.
Yes.
And, you know, there are just destabilizing neighborhoods.
Yes, they are, and they do. That's how you gentrify.
The other part is what is called demolition, accelerated demolition, and accelerated code enforcement. Of coming in and just finding things that are wrong for no reason. And you know, a lot of the people like that were on the southwest side, a lot of people, European descent, they were able to sell their houses to Mexicans. And a lot of them are living in these apartments down there in the South Loop now, because they can afford it.
We have to take a little break and come back. This is Omnibus Roundtable Television Show, and if you'd like to call us and leave a comment, our number is 773-609-4867. That's 773-609-4867. Or you can email us at omnibus, that's OMNIBUS, at ccnewsmedia.org. Our email address again is omnibus, OMNIBUS, at ccnewsmedia.org. We'll be right back after these messages. Okay, welcome back. I hope you grabbed that pen and called your friend and told them to tune in to Omnibus, because tonight you're getting a lesson in all of the little tidbits of information about what went on here in the city and around the country with housing. And we're going to let Mr. Nixon conclude what his presentation is going to be like with the Nixon Report regarding all of the issues that I'm sure he will be covering. So, Mr. Nixon, welcome back. And thank you.
Back.
And we'd like to hear you just give us maybe a couple of minutes of advice and some recommendations and a number so people can call you, and an email address, because we have about 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, listen, again, you know, I just want to say hello to my family, my Chicago family. I'm a native Chicagoan. Love everybody in Chicago, even those that aren't from here. And we want to make a better city. They say to whom much is given, much is required. I was fortunate to be educated in some of the finest schools. I was fortunate to be able to work in Washington and get a solid, high, I would even say superior training in the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, Congress, how government works intergovernmentally. So I wanted to use this show to continue the legacy of the Nixon Report that started many years ago.
Yes, it did.
And now we're doing radio, we're doing television, and we're writing in the Chicago Communicator newspaper. We're going to do a television show once a month. My phone number is 312-918-2974. That's 312-918-2974. Lionel Nixon, the Nixon Report. I'm giving you that number because you might have some ideas for shows or some issues that you want to have investigated and looked upon. We want to use this as a vehicle to spread information and to be proactive in not dealing with hating people, but we're dealing with the issue, looking at the issues. And in some instances, we'll look at the issues without party distinction. Because, you know, let's take the CHA. They got $500 million, which is probably down to $370 million. And they were supposed to use that money to provide it for low-income housing for people Section 8 vouchers. But they didn't. They used it for other purposes. Every major organization in government, the pensions are coming up. You got to pay for them. But should the people be deprived of money that was given to the housing authority for specific purposes, that which I just mentioned, low-income housing, you know, at the expense that the money be used to pay pensions and other things at the expense of not using any of that money to help low-income people and help us stay here. 85% of the people that are served in the Section 8 are black.
We're gonna have to wrap
So
up
to that end, I want to thank you, Wanda, for the opportunity to bring through Omnibus Roundtable Television,
All right.
carrying on the work of the late, great Morgan Carter.
Yes, sir.
One of the best
That's what he did.
in the business.
Yes, that's what he did. And so I'd like to thank you all for tuning in and watching Omnibus, and be sure to call us. The number and the email address and the website will be streaming across the screen in just a moment. Scrolling across the screen in just a moment. So be sure to call us and let us know what you might want to hear us talk about. And we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday, 9:30 on Channel 19, and again on Thursday, 4:30 on Channel 19.
Good night, Morgan.
Good night.
I was stripped of my childhood. At the age of 16, I walked naked into manhood, 'cause my parents were Rolling Stones. No, they were never in a rock band or on the cover of a magazine. It's just that they never hung around long enough to gather any moss. Trips back and forth to Africa in search of a better life for us made me feel like the one we had was never good enough. The one I gave them was never good enough. So me and my sisters learned to harvest ourselves, trying to see the fruits of my labor hanging from my family tree. But you see, it's hard to grow trees in the city. So at the age of 17, I knew walking a certain way would have consequences. That if my pants were too high around my waist or my trainers were slightly out of date, I might as well have been walking with a target painted on my back. You see, you learn to do adult shit real quick. You learn to add bass in your voice when asked provocative questions. You learn to hold a man's gaze. You learn to read maps, 'cause if you ended up in the wrong postcode, it could have been a rap. You learn that death doesn't have an age limit. You learn that guns are only cool on PlayStation or Terminator movies. You learn that people can be cruel. You learn what rent is and how your parents' mood changes when it's due. You learn how the system deliberately chooses to forget about you. You learn that you went to school for 18 years thinking that you learned so much, but you didn't really learn a thing. The only thing you learn is how to stop being a child. Because the adult world isn't designed for us to dream, not designed for us to only feel love. Because it's a world where a smile is frowned upon, laughter is suspicious, and honesty is betrayal. It's childhood betrayal. Is it naive enough to make you believe that all the make-believe is real? You see, from time to time, I had conversations with my inner child, and he's always smiling. His row of glistening teeth a bridge to the happiness that I sometimes forgot. He's always dancing, even though his moves are slightly outdated and his body's far from graceful. And he mocks me. He says I may be weak, but at least I was never afraid. If being a man means being afraid to love, being afraid to trust, afraid to continue running, chasing those realities that we formed that one day you decided they were better called dreams. Look at you, you're too afraid to even be yourself. Tell me, who's really the immature one? If you let them take me away from you, all you have left is everything that they gave you. Letting them take me away from you is the difference between the profit of a man who gains the world at the price of his soul. But if you so desperately want to be accepted, if you so desperately want to be an adult, go. 'Cause I know you will come back. They all come back. You will come back. I just don't know if I'll still be here waiting when you do.